The next Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee, IACC, meeting has been pushed back to August 27th. And with the extra time, the Autistic Self Advocacy Network, the ASAN, who we have talked about before on the show, has launched a large scale campaign against the committee's draft strategic plan. Today, we are going to cover what is actually happening, why the framing is misleading, and how you can help. Welcome back. The ASAN is once again back to positioning itself against the needs of profoundly autistic children and their families. And I normally try to avoid giving them much attention because, let's be honest, so little of what they put out there is actually grounded on the lived reality of high support needs autism. But they have become one of the most visible autism advocacy organizations in the country. And right now, they are working hard to undermine the first real federal focus in years on better resources, research, and supports specifically for individuals with profound autism and the families who care for them. The ASAN has created and dedicated an entire page of their website, as well as a 15-minute YouTube video that claims to explain the current IACC's goals. The presentation appears to be well researched and the content is explained well enough. But it is a textbook example of emotionally manipulative propaganda that takes statements way out of context and reframes them as threats. According to the ASAN, the IACC has a plan, and this plan is going to make it easier to institutionalize autistic people, promote research that will further stigmatize autistic people, advance prevention research, which they call harmful, and they also insist that autism must only be viewed through a disability rights lens. And there's a problem with every single one of those statements, obviously, but the core problem with the stance is that ASAN is overstepping boundaries. Their slogan is "Nothing about us without us." Well, for the first time in mainstream federal autism advocacy, the conversation is centering on a part of the spectrum that doesn't look like the people who run the ASAN. We're not primarily talking about educated, verbal autistic adults who can hold jobs and make videos on YouTube or write out newsletters. The IACC is talking about profoundly autistic individuals who are minimally verbal or nonverbal, who have extensive intellectual disabilities, who require continuous or near continuous supervision for their own safety, and who need substantial assistance with basic daily living activities. That population has different priorities, and the ASAN does not get to speak for them by default simply because they happen to share the same diagnosis. So instead of engaging those realities, the ASAN is mobilizing people across the internet to write in opposition to the strategic plan. A plan that, for the first time, might actually direct meaningful attention and resources toward children, adults, and families living with the highest support needs. They are warping the language. What starts as, "we want to investigate regression," becomes, through the ASAN lens, "you are trying to erase autism." What was stated as, "we should study why some individuals need lifelong care and how we can better support them," becomes, "you are promoting institutionalization." This was the core focus of the entire 15-minute YouTube video, that particular stance. What the ICC is wanting to do is to better research and understand why children needs to be institutionalized, what supports are already there and what supports are lacking, and to figure out, is there a system that we can put in place for these children when their parents pass away and are no longer able to care for them? Nowhere in the document proposed by the IACC does it propose that children be mandatory shoved into quote-unquote insane asylums. That's not what they're trying to achieve. What they're doing is trying to roll out a proactive plan to keep these children from falling through the cracks when their primary caregivers pass away. And how this becomes some sort of fight against institutionalization is just beyond me. And it's so dangerous because the ASAN is using its very significant platform to spread misinformation at scale. They have even published ready-made talking points for people to literally copy, paste, and send to the IACC in an effort to block this strategic plan. This includes lines such as, quote, "The IACC members have wrong and hurtful ideas about autistic people, and here are some examples of how these ideas are wrong," end quote. Another one is, quote, "There should be more autistic people as IACC members. I think this is important because ... end quote. Another thing that I find kind of strange, because there actually are the required number of autistic people on the IACC board, but for the first time in history, these autistic individuals are actually spellers. So they're not part of the ASAN category. They represent another side of the spectrum that has not been heard from yet. Now, I'm not against robust pushback or disagreement. I am against coordinated campaigns that treat any focus on profound autism as some sort of existential threat. The ASAN has also issued statements framed as moral imperatives, such as, quote, "Autistic people should be allowed to exist." No one serious on the IACC is arguing otherwise. We're not trying to eradicate autism by asking for causation research. What these parents and what we as a society are trying to figure out is there another way to support these children who are developing neurotypically up until age 3, 4, and 5, and then regress? We want to understand why that's happening so we can support them. We're not trying to keep autism from happening ever. We're just trying to support these children who are clearly suffering. Another example is, quote, "Functional improvement equals acting less autistic." This is false. When the IACC refers to functional improvement, they are talking about a child's ability to be independent. What they mean is that a child is able to stop slamming their head into walls and floors multiple times a day during meltdowns. It means that maybe they gain the ability to be able to feed themselves or to toilet themselves or to be able to communicate better. It's not a matter of making them act less autistic. It's a matter of giving them more autonomy as an individual and figuring out, okay, how can we support their bodies and minds to be able to develop and grow? What the IACC and what the rest of us are looking for is reduced self-injury and better safety and improved sleep and the ability to communicate basic needs. Those are the outcomes that matter enormously, obviously, especially to people living with the most severe challenges and to the families who support them around the clock. We know that autism is a spectrum, and treating every point on that spectrum as if it is identical in need and in priority and in appropriate policy is not progressive. It neglects the most vulnerable. Families of profoundly autistic individuals have waited a really long time for federal attention that actually matches the intensity of the care that these children require. The current IACC draft is one of the first intentional and serious attempts to do that, and the ASAN's campaign is an attempt to completely shut it down. Public comments on the strategic plan are due by August 20th, which is why we dedicated a full episode to this situation. If you are a parent, a caregiver, a professional, friend, neighbor, pastor, teacher, or autistic person who believes that high support needs individuals deserved focused research, services, policies, and attention, this is the moment to make your voice heard. The people who are most affected by profound autism cannot speak for themselves, and that is precisely why the rest of us must take a stand and help them out.